Hi, this is Abhilash. So we're going to look into the Ansible automation for Oracle Apex refreshes. So basically the goal is to have uh, uh, an Oracle instance 19.3 running with Apex, and we need to do an refresh to another environment where the Apex should run, taking the backup from the source to the target. So we'll get into those details shortly. So the goal is to enable the use of Ansible and perform Ansible scripts uh, via via an Ansible control server and the source and the target. So we'll get into the details shortly. So basically, there's a brief introduction about Ansible. Is like Ansible is more of a declarative language. Like it takes care of a lot of declarations such as variables, such as tags, such as tasks, etc. But it doesn't have any compiled um, scripts like Java or Python does. So this is mostly used for SRE automation, and there's a lot of Oracle adaptation for Ansible as well. So Ansible doesn't depend on any agents to work on, but it is designed to work with multiple servers together. So it is kind of lightweight. So so there is some amount of prerequisites that probably would need to be done initially to set up Ansible at the control server, etc. But then once it is done, it is highly automated and it is highly reusable. So the Ansible documentation provides a good reference of how to use the various versions of Ansible. So, we're going to look into how Ansible is, what are the Ansible approaches we are following. So, there are several ways to do the automation. So the screen below here, or the slide here, shows what is my current environment and my current lab environment. So I have an Ansible control server, which is just my MacBook terminal. So I'm just trying to simulate it into Ansible control server by having all my Ansible scripts in my terminal, and I have a source server which is running Oracle Apex, and I have a target server. So all the source and the target servers are kind of cloned from the Oracle Apex pre-built developer VMs that are available. So I kind of created the source server and taking everything from it, and cleaned up the target server. So taking a backup and moving into the target server. So this is the goal, where I use this Ansible server to communicate with the source, which then communicates to the target and does a lot of activities. So what are the prerequisites for Apex restores? So the prerequisites that I had is that there is an SSH equivalence that I created from control server to target. It is not actually mandatory to have a SSH equivalence. That there is a way where Ansible can be prompted for passwords for SSH access from one server to another, but for the sake of convenience and reusability, I set up the SSH equivalence from the source and the target, and from the control server to source, and from control server to target. So um, uh, Oracle homes and source in the target server could be pre-installed. These things can be done via Ansible as a part of Ansible installation via Oracle, so, but that is not the scope of this environment. This thing is this demonstration shows how Oracle databases can be restored from Ansible and then move to the target, and then also do an Apex restore as well. So the setting up of Oracle, the setting up of Ansible can be done via separate Ansible scripts as well. So I'm going on to the next slide here. Is again, then I have an Ansible control server here. I have some local scripts here in the source. I have some local scripts in the target. So I'm looking at I'll be breaking down how my Ansible playbooks run in the next slide. Is that I'm using several tags in Ansible. So the use of tags in Ansible playbooks are that the tags can be run independently. For example, I want to run a particular DB backup. Say I want to run the source DB backup tag here. So which means I can just run a particular section of the playbook independently, which gives the flexibility of using um, using the tags, so that it is easy to control for this particular requirement, I believe. So probably we can have separate playbooks for separate kinds of activities, but I felt it is easier. Uh, I felt it is easier to have separate playbooks. Sorry, the same playbook across environments, across the source and target. So I'm using this playbook. In the source control server, which calls the target server. So this playbook will be available here. It calls the source and it does some activity here. It calls the target. It does some activity here. So I'll be walking through that shortly. So this is my playbook. It may sound a kind of it may be a little difficult to understand, but I'm going to break this down by looking this into separate sections. Like if you see that, if you see there are there are inventories and there are tags here. So host DB source, host DB target are my inventories, which means I have an inventory file which tells what are my source servers, and I have my target which tells me what are my target servers. So in the source I do these activities, in the target I do these activities. So if I run a playbook for DB source, it does everything in the DB source. If I run a playbook for DB target, it does everything in this this fashion. And since it is say source checks, so it just runs in the way it has been written here. So if source checks are written first, then it probably runs the source checks first, then it runs the DB backup, and then it does the rsync, and then the apex backup, and the same way for the DB target here. So it does a target cleanup first, and it does a DB restore first, and it does an apex restore first. So it is important how we have these operations in what to say, in a sequential way. So I'm going to show you my inventory environment. Is I have just two lines, two groups, source and target. DB source is just one server, and DB target is another server. So and my Ansible.cfg is the is a file which basically points me where my inventory is. So since I'm running this from my terminal there, so I have documented saying that my Ansible.cfg contains to this lab, which contains the source and target servers. So what is the goal here? It's like I have created a sample application called my Apex1. So I am running this in my IP 192.168. I'm sorry, there's a typo here. 192.168.29.243 8080 call Apex, and the goal is to have the same thing in 244. So how are we going to do this? Is I'm just going to run this. So I'm saying time Ansible playbook -new Oracle and my playbook name. Time just lets me know the actual time that it runs here. So it says 23 minutes here. So what happens here is that once my refresh, I'll walk through the video of the refresh once this presentation is done. So once this is done, I would probably have the application in 244 here, and then I can see my application here. So I'm just going to move the slide across, and I'm going to take and I'm going to show you my my playbooks here. So it says my playbook says, so this is the playbook here. So like I said, I have the source, I have the target, I'm sorry, like I have the tags here for each activity, which I showed you in the presentation. So my inventory would be, this would be my inventory, and my Ansible configuration file points me to the which inventory lab I need to have. So I have a few windows here. I'll just let you know what these windows are. So my window here is this window here is probably, I think, is probably my alert log in my source, and this window here is the backup log of my source, and this one is the rsync, and this one is the alert log of my target, and this one is kind of the activities happening in the target. It's probably I just kept this to look at the alert log in my target here, and this one is for the Apex scripts that are running here. So I'm going to run this playbook here. So I will show you the playbook again. So here I have this playbook here. So when I run this playbook, it would say go to the host DB source, do these activities here, and then go to the host DB target and do these activities here. So it just runs serially starting from here and to here. So I'm just going to run this here. So my playbook is starting, and I'm kind of which just checks the first one is my listener is running, and then the reason why I kind of had these kind of scripts there individually is that I just wanted to have the ability to run them individually with separate servers. I can definitely run these backups in from the Ansible group variables, where I have a variable having the RMAN syntax, but I just wanted to run them individually when I wanted to, so I thought I'll just have the scripts in those servers, and I would call these servers there. So as you can see, the backups are starting here. So these backups are running in my source here. So I'll just probably wait a minute, wait a few minutes. So probably this would take from my approximation about 8 to 10 minutes here. So as you can see, backups are progressing. So this is my lab environment. So this could be a bit slow. So apologies for keeping you waiting here. And just prior to that, we'll probably see how my Apex source is actually looking at. So I'll probably create something like, I'm going to go to this here, and I would say I would just go to my source here. I'll just show you my Apex application, how it is running while this is running. So while everything is running in my lab environment inside VirtualBox, so otherwise normally it would take about within 10 minutes, I believe. so this is my source Apex, and I have created a small application here, so which is just nothing but a single login page. So I have not created any large application. I just wanted to create something here so that I can see something that I've created there, rather apart from what is default present in Oracle Apex. So I just have a page which has some sub pages, I believe, and I'm just running this application, and then I should see a small login page here. I believe, yes, it's called My Apex 1. So this is at 243 now. So what I will be doing here is that I will be doing this Apex refresh as well. I'll be walking through those scripts as well. So I would like to go to the same 244 after the refresh, which is my target server, and see the same application. So I'm just moving this aside here, and while this is happening, I'll probably walk you through what is happening in the how I'm doing my Apex backups. So Apex backups are from scripts that are in my target, so in my source, I believe. So I have some scripts here which will run the Apex. So I could have sourced these variables, but I think I missed to obfuscate these passwords. But I believe I'm using the Java export class here, and then I'm just running this on the source. And once this source is run, I will actually move these files to the target. So I believe you can see that I'm moving these files here. So the only thing I would probably need to run at this point would be the f-start.sql, where the application is, and where the Apex application is actually running. So that's how I do my Apex backup, and I'll just show you my RMAN backup script. So I am running a basically script which does an RMAN backup here. So it just takes a full backup level 0, and then just taking any backups, and I'm just taking a control file backup as well. So I'm moving this here. So you can see now at this point backups is finished, and it is going to the it should be shortly going to the next stage, which is the rsync. And I see my backups have completed here, and the next one is rsync, and you can see the rsync files have started to move from the source to the target. So while this is happening, I'd like to show you how my RMAN restore in my targets is running. So how do I clean up the repository is like, so I log into the target, and I'm duplicating this database into a database called refcdb, and I'm clearing up the database. I'm just dropping the database, and I'm just bringing it back to the no mode stage where my duplicate can start. So once the script is done, I believe the database should be dropped, and it just brings the database to a no mode stage, which is static init file. So once the target cleanup is done, so it does an RMAN duplicate from the backups that have been taken from the primary. So I'm using the backups that I've taken from the source, and I'm moving it and I'm duplicating it to a refcdb. So once this is done, I would do an Apex restore. So an Apex restore and Apex Restore would actually run the scripts that uh, I've taken from the source. So I'm just doing an unlock because no, with multiple wrong passwords, it's a possibility of the script could fail. So I'm just doing an unlock and changing the password, just normally as we do in a basic refresh. So this ensures that I'm able to repeatedly run this scripts over time. So at this point, what is happening is, again, the rsync is running. So the rsync is running here. So this is where the rsync is running. So once rsync is completed, uh, I will go and see how my RMAN duplicate works. So I'm just telling my alert log of my target here to see what's happening. I'm also going to tail the RMAN spool of my duplicate. So this is my earlier done spool. So a new spool will start up. So at this point, rsync is happening, and I have my alert log of my target and the backup log of my uh, target here. So I'm just waiting for this to complete. As you can see here from the playbook, it's still doing the rsync backups. So the next step from rsync would be to do the Apex backup, which should take reasonably small amount of time. So ideally, we may not need to transfer backup from one server to another. If we have an NFS where it can be pulled out, the time taken for all this moving the file from one server to another would be reduced. So, so I mean, my lab doesn't. I didn't set up a open source NFS or something here. So I thought I'll just move the files there and do a transfer. So the backup is completed, and I believe the Apex exports is happening, and you can see it's reasonably quick, and then it's going to the target here. So it's just, you can see it's clearing up the instances here, and you can see in the alert log that it is just dropping the database here. So I think it's just dropping database now. and you can see now the duplicate process has started up here. So I just found the backups that have been moved, and it is refreshing into a RefCDB. So with Ansible, I have found this tags is very useful, which means there were times where I had to take a manual backup, so I just used the tags for this particular tag. So each activity uh, we can move into a tag, and then we can set up the tags. So tags are very useful, especially if you have one playbook and we need to repeatedly use multiple sections of the playbook. So So at this point, uh, now we are in the RMAN duplicate section. So having multiple terminals here, we can mislead us where we are. So that's why this YAML playbook helps us identify at which task the activity is going on. So my playbook shows this is it's running in RMAN duplicate section here. So it is reading my backup pieces one by one. So and it is restoring one by one. So the thing to note here is, since this is an RMAN duplicate which has a container database inside, so RMAN duplicate will automatically bring up all the pluggable databases open once the duplicate activity is completed. Uh, but if you're trying to uh, uh, do a manual, or if I try to do a restart of this database alone, then I have to put a script to bring up all the pluggable containers manually. So at this point, that is taken care by the RMAN duplicate here. So it's restoring the backups from the backup set. So I'll just wait for it to complete here. So it is taking a media recovery, which means the backups have been completed and the next set of archives have been are being applied now. So yeah, so database should be up anytime now. So at this point, I think the pluggable databases have come up, and the Apex store is starting shortly now. Yeah, you can see the Apex store. Yeah, so I think it was pretty quick there. So just created everything here. So I think 22 minutes was the total time. So I was trying to spool the file here. So looks like it completed by the time we done. So we have the target now restored. So how do we verify whether the target is restored or not? So I'm going to go into the my browser here, and then I'm going to log into 244 here. So the same port. So the Apex restored part would actually take care of the bringing up the corresponding components as well. So yeah, I can go into 244 here. So I'm logging in here. So I'm going into the app builder here in my target, and then I can see my Apex 1 page here. So I'm able to run this application here. So I have this application, I just run it, and you can see this application here. So basically the target that we have here is to have the application running in Apex. So what we have done here is we've used Ansible to uh, to use the Ansible control servers to have to have the Oracle restores done from the source to the target, and also to the Apex restore. So the scripts can be adapted to whichever environment that we're trying to use. The goal here is to ensure that Ansible is able to do this activity without any issues. So I also like to show you something about the repeatability uh, of the tags, I believe. So I just wanted to show you one more thing here, is that if I want to have tags, say if I just want to do an Apex restore again, so I would just do a Apex restore again. So if I just want to do an rsync again, I can do an rsync here. So I would just do a I would just do check the listener is running or not. Say I would just see what's happening, just run this particular tag. So I just want to do source checks of my particular tag. Is do a source check. So I'm going to run this particular tag as well. So which means it will just go and pick that particular tag, and then it says the listener is running, and then it should come out. Yes, so it's not doing anything else anywhere. So this way tags can be used to ensure that we can have a controlled use of the playbooks. So that's all I have in my presentation today. Thank you very much.